Hello Redditors, welcome back to Tales Against Humanity. Now, let's get started. In today's episode, update, my friend made fun of my disabled uncle. Entitled Neighbor Wants People to Sacrifice Their Rights for Her Rights. Karen wants to sue me for this. Entitled Karen calls me a Satanist in the middle of my local grocery store. So, I'm pissed? The bitch strikes again. For context, I have a disabled uncle. He is autistic and has PTSD. We call him Bruno in these posts, yes, because of Encanto. He sometimes requires minimal care such as help eating or brushing his hair when he has bad days. My friend came over during the day when he needed help eating and my grandmother and youngest brother were helping him. She decided to make a big deal out of nothing, made fun of him, and accused my family of abusing him and my youngest brother. If you want more context, I have another post. The day after I made my original post, one of my grandma's friends came to her saying my ex-friend, who we'll call B for now, was gossiping about our family around school and her granddaughter heard about it. B was saying things like how my family is creepy and my uncle is creepy. Like I predicted, most of the kids shut her down at school. I thought that I could keep what happened between B and me to myself despite what was happening at school. Unfortunately, my grandma asked if I knew what was happening. I cannot lie to my grandma and I told her everything. She was proud of me for standing up for my uncle, but she said that if something like that ever happens again, to tell her. We decided to tell my uncle what was going on. While it's childish rumors, we want him to know. Bruno did not care too much. He said, all teenagers are evil, aside from you guys. That's why I taught elementary school. Thanks, Uncle Bruno. Now to get into the meat of the story. One of my cousins, 20M, is getting married. We'll go ahead and keep the Encanto names and call them Issa. Issa asked Bruno to be a groomsman. They had already been suit shopping for all of the groomsmen. My uncle wanted something to wear at the reception. In his words, I'm not going to be stuck in a burgundy penguin suit all day. My cousin said that he could wear something different. I offered to go shopping with him to find something that he could wear. That man does not have anything fashionable to wear. We went clothes shopping at the local mall. Our mission: find something appropriate for Bruno to wear to a wedding reception without buttons. Now there was a fork in the road for our mission that we did not know about at the time. B had told her dad something about Bruno freaking her out. Once again, something about him being creepy. I don't think she said anything physical happened between them, but I think her dad took it that way. Back to that in a second. My uncle and I went to a couple of stores but did not find anything that would work. We then went to get some lunch, Chinese, then went back to shopping. We found something that would work. It was a nice purple shirt with a few buttons on top. He bought it then, went to a different store. We were only there for a couple of minutes before we heard someone shout my uncle's name. Bruno does not do too well with loud noises and hates it when people yell at him. He flinched, but we both looked toward the direction of the shouting. I recognized him as B's dad. He looked pissed and was coming right up to us. My uncle stepped between BD and me. My uncle asked who he was. BD like hell you don't know. Bruno no, I do not. Would you tell me your name? My uncle almost sounded like he was talking to a child. BD, name, B's dad. Bruno, that's your friend, right? I nodded. BD, don't play stupid. You know exactly who she is. Bruno was starting to shake because he was being yelled at. He kept his composure even as BD started accusing him of some awful things. Now, I don't remember exactly what was said as I was starting to get scared. Logically, I knew that nothing was going to happen as B is 18, and she and Bruno had never been in a room alone together. It was still terrifying to have those accusations thrown around. Bruno, sir, I can assure you that nothing like that has happened. This is a misunderstanding that we can talk about. We can get Bobby, Bruno's friend and resource officer for the school district, to mediate if you want. At this point, all of the yelling had attracted the manager of the store. Manager, what seems to be the problem here? Bruno, there's just been a misunderstanding. Everything happened so fast. 1. BD hit Bruno across the face while screaming, there ain't been no misunderstanding. 2. I grabbed my uncle's shoulders to try and steady him and pulled him away, while shouting what the fuck is wrong with you. 3. BD grabbed his by the collar and got right in his face, screaming something. I let go of Bruno because there was no way to get him away from this insane person without hurting him. The manager called security and the police. Thankfully, this made BD drop Bruno and he tried to run off. By the time everything calmed, Bruno was sitting with his back to the shelves and knees to his chest. He was having a panic attack which had not happened in a long time. Before the police showed up, I was able to get Bruno mostly calmed down. The officer took everyone's statements. I explained to the officer that Bruno was autistic and was not up for talking right now. All the officer asked was if he wanted to press charges. Bruno nodded. I ended up having to call Bruno's brother to help as Bruno could hardly walk, he was shaking so bad. We have a trail date, and with all the evidence, hopefully BD will be locked away for a while. For people who will ask, yes, Bruno is okay now. It's been nearly a month. For a couple of days, he was pretty scared and shaky. I won't go into detail as he does not want me to, but he is all right now. He just wants this whole thing to be over. B claims that she never made any accusations to her father against Bruno. She avoided the question as to why. Her father thought that anything happened. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Story 2. Entitled Neighbor Wants People to Sacrifice Their Rights for Her Rights. This occurred a few days ago. I live in a very small townhome development. Only about 120 units. It's some families and younger couples, but mostly older retirees who have nothing better to do. While on a walk the other day, I came across a couple of older neighbors and started talking to them. One of the women was distraught at having rental units on either side of her. She went on a rant about how renters were so much worse than owners. She continued to rant how they had people over once, and they say outside taking into the night. Not playing loud music, not shouting, talking. She went on to complain that they sit outside to smoke and will occasionally have a fire in their small fire. These things prevent hay from opening hay windows because of the smoke, and she's a prisoner in her own home. I tried to sympathize on how it's unfortunate, but told her it's their right to do these things on their property. She kept sputtering, but my rights, I eventually said, if these things bother you so much, then maybe townhome living isn't for you. She gave me a look like I slapped her across the face. I have an excuse and went back inside. Story 3. Karen wants to sue me for this. I live in a small town in South Portugal. It's usually pretty calm. One day I had a knock on my door, and it was a woman visibly angry. The conversation went like this as I remember me. Hi, can I help you? Karen, yes, your car is illegally parked. It's blocking the sidewalk. I look over to the street, and there is 3 cars parked on the street, all completely legally parked. None of them were mine. Me, that's impossible. My car is at a mechanic. Karen, you don't lie to me. At this point I had a screaming woman at my door. I just closed the door on her face and went back to talk with my friends who I was playing with. She was knocking on my door so hard that my friends could hear it from my mic. Okay, couple days pass and I had a family dinner at my house. So my driveway was filled up with cars. My driveway takes 4 cars, so I had to park my car on the street. I heard a knock on my door. I thought it was my grandparents. I was still waiting for them because they got into a bad traffic jam. I opened the door and I see the same woman I saw last week. We again talked, and it went like this. Karen, your car again illegally parked. I noticed that she was watching me move my car for my cousin whose car had a key problem, and he wants being able to lock the car, and he didn't want to leave it on the street. Me, ma'am, do you see that my car is parked on a parking spot? Karen, how dare you? I don't know why she got offended. And then she screamed, Karen, help. After that, my friend, who is very close to the family, came out of the house and said, oh, called him Mark. Mark, what's going on? Me. Don. Karen interrupts me. Karen, your little friend hit me with his car. Yes, you heard it right. She is claiming I had hit her with my car when I didn't even left my house. As it happens, my grandparents pull up. Mark, that can't be true. He didn't left the house. Karen, you will heard from my lawyer. As she turns around and walks away, she bumps into my grandpa, making him fell. Luckily, most of my front yard is grass and little bushes. My grandpa fell onto the grass. As soon as that happened, she goes away. But before that, she took a photo of my license plate. Me and my friend both run to help my grandpa. He wasn't hurt. I then discover that she actually filled a police report for hit and run, and she is now trying to sue me. But in Portugal, you can't sue someone just because you want to. I quickly told my lawyer about this, and he said she wins the case. I can face up to 2-3 years in prison, plus a big fine and losing my driver's license. I have cameras in my house so that footage could help me with this. But now it has been about 4 weeks since that, and I haven't heard from her again. Story 4. Entitled Karen calls me a Satanist in the middle of my local grocery store. I, 20M, had some friends to come over, but unfortunately I hadn't enough beer. so I went in the grocery store to buy some. So this might be the point where I have to give some more information about me. I usually wear a leather jacket, a black jeans, and one out of many band t-shirts I own, and in case someone tries slash or wants to steal my wallet during a concert, I bought a little steel chain to keep it safe. On this day, I was wearing my Slayer t-shirt, and as I went into the grocery store, everything seems normal, and under normal circumstances, no one that doesn't know me tries to bother me because, as an obvious metalhead, I could seem a little bit aggressive. But I assure you that I'm not aggressive as long as no one tries to bother with me. As I finally found the beer, I wanted to pick them up, as out of nowhere I heard a lady screaming. As the kind guy, I might looked around if anyone needs help, but as I saw her, I realized she was yelling at me. I couldn't figure out why she's yelling at me, so I asked her what's wrong. Then she replied, "Well, you are the wrong person here. Why do you come here to my store and spread your Satanistic behavior all around my store?" I was confused, but after a few moments it hits me. I was like, oh, I'm actually no Satanist. It's just that I like to listen to that kind of music. How dare you talking to me in my store, you little piece of s-a-tat. Now go out and never come back to my store. But unfortunately for her, I know the owner quite well, and so I thought that she was just trying to get me out of the store. But as she was screaming very loud, another guy came over and tried to talk to her. She turned around in fury. How someone could dare to talk to her while she was screaming, and yelled at the guy. Happily, she didn't recognize that it was the manager, and as the manager, he kicked her out immediately after she yelled at him. She was cussing as the manager got her out of the store. The Karen stormed away and was never seen again. Then I went on to buy the beer and some chips and other stuff. The manager seemed to be the only employee there at the moment, so I gave him the money and asked if he wants to come over RTO my house as well. Since the store closes at 20 p.m., and it was already like 19.55, he said yes, and we all had a good evening. I'm really sorry for my crappy English, but I'm trying to translate this, and it's 1:44 a.m., and so I'm not the best one at translating this text into readable English. Make sure to like and subscribe for more interesting stories.